Most people think respect is earned by being nice, by smiling, agreeing, or trying to please. But that's a lie. Real respect, the kind that bends people to your will without them even realizing it, is not given. It's extracted. It's the invisible weight you carry, the silent pull of your presence that makes people pause, self-censor, and hesitate. Almost instinctively, the truth: respect is submission disguised as admiration, and only a few understand how to command it, through stillness, silence, and the rare kind of aura that turns your absence into a psychological trap. Today, I'm going to show you how to wear the ultimate invisible crown, the shadow crown, a presence so magnetic, so inevitable, that people adjust their behavior around you without you lifting a finger. If you've ever wondered why some people are feared and admired even when they do nothing, you're about to learn their secrets. Most people live their lives chasing respect, yet they never stop to ask a simple question: what is respect really? They think it's smiles, polite words, or charming gestures. They believe if you say the right things or please enough people, respect will follow. But here's the truth: respect is not given. It is extracted. Imagine walking into a room and noticing how people instinctively pause when a certain person enters. They hesitate mid-sentence, adjust their posture, even subconsciously soften their tone. You might call it charm. Some might say it's fear. But what's really happening is a subtle, almost invisible psychological pull. This is the force of true authority. This is what the few wielders of the shadow crown understand: emotional gravity. Emotional gravity is not about loud voices, flashy gestures, or dramatic declarations. It's about control, of presence, of motion, of reaction. Before a word is spoken, the body communicates volumes. Every step, every posture, every pause is a signal of dominance. Too much fidgeting, a twitch, a nervous laugh, and the aura crumbles. Stillness, on the other hand, is magnetic. It unsettles people. It commands attention without a single word. Even the gaze becomes a weapon. Look at someone long enough, just long enough to unsettle them, but never provoke. Their mind starts racing. What is this person thinking? Am I crossing a line? Should I speak? Should I pause? The longer you hold their gaze, the more their behavior adapts to your silent rhythm, and people will start self-regulating without realizing it. This is the essence of psychological submission disguised as respect and silence. Oh, silence is the unsung hero of influence. Speak too much and you dilute authority. Speak too fast and people barely notice. But a slow word, a deliberate pause, a measured tone, these create tension. Anticipation grows. Every listener leans in, hanging on to what you might say next, giving your words power they didn't have before. Now, imagine combining stillness, gaze, and silence with emotional detachment. The slightest provocation meets a neutral expression. No outrage, no approval, just a calm, unreadable presence. The result? People begin to feel the weight of their own reactions, the imbalance of their emotions around you. You are no longer part of their world. You are the gravity they orbit around, silently and unconsciously adjusting to your presence. By the end of this chapter, you need to realize this: respect is never earned through charm, likability, or approval. It is claimed, it is felt, and it is invisible until you master the art of presence. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper. We'll explore how rarity and strategic absence transform this invisible weight into a magnetic aura, a psychological dominion where even your absence commands attention and obedience. This is where the path to the shadow crown begins. In the first chapter, we uncovered the invisible weight of respect, how stillness, gaze, silence, and emotional gravity shape the way people unconsciously bend to your presence. But these tools alone are only the beginning. To ascend further, to step into what I call the shadow crown, you must master the art of rarity and emotional detachment. Rarity is one of the most misunderstood elements of influence. Most people live their lives as if presence itself is enough, always available, always responding, always performing. But here's the cold truth: availability dilutes value. People take the constantly present for granted. They stop noticing, they stop respecting, they stop fearing. Contrast this with someone rare, someone who appears selectively, who answers unpredictably, who disappears without explanation. Scarcity, when wielded strategically, becomes magnetic. Each appearance is no longer ordinary, it is an event. People anticipate it, crave it, and adjust their own behavior in preparation. This is psychological leverage at its most subtle. You are no longer chasing respect, you are commanding it through absence. And absence is powerful not only because it creates desire, but because it forces reflection. In your absence, people think about you. They replay interactions, analyze your words, question your motives, and in doing so, you shape their emotional reality. Your influence persists even when you are gone. This is the foundation of the shadow crown, a presence so dominant that it requires no physical manifestation to assert itself. Yet scarcity alone is not enough. You must pair it with emotional detachment. Observe closely. When people confront you with provocation, praise, or even attempts at manipulation, how you react defines the unseen power you wield. React too emotionally, and you give them a foothold. React with warmth, and you invite familiarity. React with neutrality, calm, and unshakable composure, and you create psychological imbalance in others. Think about it. When someone tries to push your buttons and you remain unmoved, they begin to question themselves. Why can't I provoke them? Why do my words fall flat? What am I missing? That uncertainty is gold. It forces others to self-regulate, to tiptoe, to adjust their behavior to the rhythm you silently dictate. You become a force they cannot predict, a presence they cannot control. This unpredictability is the second layer of the shadow crown. Now combine emotional detachment with strategic communication. Speak slowly. Speak deliberately. Use silence as a weapon. Each word you release carries weight because it is rare, measured, and intentional. The anticipation you create amplifies authority. People lean in to listen not just to what you say, but to the space between your words. That silence becomes a canvas on which they project fear, admiration, and curiosity. But the ultimate mastery lies in balancing indifference and subtle attention. Too much coldness and people may fear or resent you. Too much warmth and they may take you lightly. The key is a magnetic tension, a controlled oscillation between presence and absence, attention and withdrawal, engagement and neutrality. This subtle rhythm keeps people guessing, adjusting, and ultimately submitting to the psychological gravity you wield. Here's where the shadow crown truly manifests. Those who master rarity, emotional detachment, and strategic communication do not need to assert authority overtly. Their presence, even when absent, commands respect. Their aura shapes behavior. People measure themselves against their unspoken standards. Obedience is not demanded, it is internalized. Compliance is unconscious, and this is what separates the visible leaders from the psychological rulers. At this stage, respect becomes automatic. People admire, fear, and hesitate, not because of words or actions, but because they feel the weight of inevitability. They feel the rhythm you set, the gravity you carry, the absence you impose, and they unconsciously adjust. And when they do, you realize the truth. You are no longer performing power, you are embodying it. By now, you may be wondering, how do you reach the final stage? How do you turn this magnetic, rare, emotionally detached presence into a force that cannot be challenged, questioned, or ignored? That is the subject of the next chapter. Here, we'll explore the ultimate embodiment of authority, the final form of power where respect is automatic, submission is internalized, and the shadow crown becomes invisible yet undeniable. By now, you've learned how to wield presence, stillness, gaze, silence, rarity, and emotional detachment. You understand how subtle actions bend behavior, how absence amplifies influence, and how neutrality creates psychological imbalance in others. But these are the tools, the weapons in your arsenal. True power is something far greater. It is inevitable, unavoidable, and silent. This is the essence of the shadow crown, and it is the ultimate form of authority. The shadow crown is not a title, not a gesture, not a performance. It is a state of being. It is the embodiment of inevitability. When you step into this state, you are no longer negotiating respect. You are commanding it without effort, shaping the world around you simply by existing. People do not obey because they are forced to. They obey because they cannot imagine a reality without your influence subtly guiding their actions. Consistency is your psychological armor. Every reaction, every expression, every word must be deliberate. People constantly observe patterns, whether consciously or unconsciously. If you fluctuate, if you show weakness, unpredictability, or emotional volatility, you surrender your influence. But consistency, paired with occasional unpredictability, ensures you remain unreadable yet authoritative, a force that cannot be challenged because it cannot be predicted. Strategic unpredictability is the subtle art that maintains engagement and attention. One moment you offer warmth, a smile, an encouraging word. Then you withdraw, vanish from social spaces, or speak only when your presence is demanded. People notice. They question. They lean in. Their mental energy is consumed by your rhythm, and that energy fuels your authority. This is the delicate dance of influence, presence and absence, warmth and indifference, clarity and mystery. Then there is the power of delegated influence. You cannot and should not control every interaction. True rulers influence the world through networks, proxies, and followers who emulate their energy and decisions. The effects multiply. Even when you are absent, the principles you embody, calm, control, detachment, magnetism, ripple through others, enforcing your authority indirectly. Your aura becomes a force larger than your physical presence, a psychological dominion quietly shaping behavior and expectations. Your gaze, your stillness, your tone, they are no longer tools to manipulate specific situations. They are extensions of inevitability. People adjust unconsciously, not because you demand it, but because they perceive resistance as impossible. The shadow crown is a quiet dominion where obedience, admiration, and respect are internalized, woven into the fabric of others' minds. Now imagine walking into a room where everyone subtly aligns themselves to your energy. No words, no instructions, just the weight of your presence. People hesitate before speaking, measure every action, and navigate around the invisible gravity you exert. That is not authority in the conventional sense. That is power beyond performance. You are not acting, not trying, not performing. You are inevitable. At this stage, respect is no longer fragile. It cannot be taken away. Attempts at defiance or disrespect falter before they even begin. You have created a psychological environment where others measure themselves against your unspoken standards. Your influence persists even in absence. Your aura is no longer dependent on action. It has become a constant force, unassailable, undeniable. And here lies the final lesson. Stop chasing approval. Stop performing power. Stop seeking validation. Stop reacting emotionally to every slight or praise. True authority demands discipline, patience, and the mastery of self. It requires cultivating stillness in chaos, silence in noise, and detachment amidst provocation. It requires rare appearances, selective attention, and a rhythm of presence and absence that subtly reshapes behavior. When you achieve this, you no longer need to speak to be heard, to move to be noticed, or to act to command respect. People internalize your presence. Obedience is automatic. Admiration is instinctive. Fear is tempered with reverence. The shadow crown rests upon you, not visibly, not ceremoniously, but invisibly, unshakably, eternally. This is the pinnacle of dark psychological mastery. The path is not easy. It requires discipline, observation, and relentless refinement of self. But the rewards are profound. A presence that cannot be ignored, a power that cannot be stolen, and a respect that is not given but claimed and internalized. In the end, the shadow crown teaches one ultimate truth. Real power is silent, inevitable, and unseen, but it shapes everything. And when you embody it, the world bends subtly to your will without ever knowing how or why. You are not performing power, you are becoming it.